Right, so we're going to work through the Paper 1 WJC GCSE Intermediate Maths Paper 1 from June 17. The grade boundaries for this paper panned out as I've written there. So out of 80 available marks on the paper, you needed to score at least 11 to grade and at least 33 in order to get a level 2 pass, a grade C or better. And you can see here with accumulation of the marks where that really gets you. So realistically, if you get up to and including question 8 and before it everything correct, then that would get you into that grade C zone. So let's see how the paper looks. So question 1, write down the next two numbers in the following sequence. So the question like this, you want to look at what's happening to the gaps between the numbers, and hopefully you can see there that one's going down 10, that one's going down 9, that one's going down 8. So the next one is going to go down 7, which means you're going to do 8 take away 7, which is 1, and the next one is going to go down 6. So you're going to go from 1 down 6 places on your number line, which will take you to -5. Part B. Find the value of 2x plus 7y when x is -3 and y is 10. So into this expression we're going to replace the x with a -3 and the y with a 10. Now it's really important that you remember in algebra those two parts to that term there are joined by multiplication. We don't put it in algebra, but when we replace the letters with a number, it becomes arithmetic and it goes in. So that's going to be 2 times -3 plus 7 times 10. You work out any multiplication before you add. So 2 times -3 is -6 plus 70. So on your number line you're at -6, you're going up 70, you will end up at 64. For part C, you're simplifying the expression. That means you're not looking for an answer, you're just looking to tidy it up. It hasn't got an equal sign, it's not an equation. So what we do, or what I suggest with algebra like this, is you gather up your like terms. So I've got an 8k there and I've got a 2k there, but the sign in front of it is part of that term. We only put a negative on the front one, or we only put a sign there if it's negative, if it's not it's plus. So that there and that there are the same, and then here I've got a plus 3m and a -8m. So 8k, take 2k, 6k, 3m, and then I'm going down 8, I'm going to end up at -5m. Okay, so marks for that question. It's basically 1 mark for each of those correct, so 1 mark and 1 mark. The B just means it's a standalone, there's no method, you're just looking for the answer. For this one, there's a mark for getting the -6 and the +70, and 1 mark for 64. And for here, again, 1 mark for the 6k, 1 mark for the -5m. Question 2. Write down 0.4, 15% and 7/20ths in ascending order. So in order to do this, we need to write them all in the same form to compare them. And probably the easiest thing to do here, if you think that we can write 15% as 15 out of 100, 0.4 it's a 4 in the tenths column, units tenths, so that's the same as 4 tenths. and 7/20. So I've written them all as fractions, but before I can compare them, I need the denominators, the numbers on the bottom, to be the same. So I can turn that into 100 easily by timesing by 10. So that's going to be 40 over 100. That's 15 over 100. And by multiplying that by 5, I can write that as 100. So that's going to be 7 5s 35 over 100. Ascending order means smallest to largest. So the smallest is the 15 out of 100, which is 15%, followed by 35 out of 100, which is 7/20, followed by 40 out of 100, which is 0.4. So there's 2 marks for getting them all in the same format, and 1 mark for then getting them in the right order. And it's important that you write them back in the format that they gave them to you. Okay. Question 3, reflection. Reflect the triangle below in the x-axis. Well, the x-axis is this axis. So what that is saying is you're using that line as a mirror to reflect this on. The way the mirror works is that the distance, the perpendicular distance, the right angle distance, the shape is from one side of the mirror, it will be reflected identically the other side. So if this is our mirror line, this line here is 1, 2, 3 squares away. So that line is going to end up 3 squares beneath. That line is 5, so that's going to end up there. So that's our reflection. Part B, enlarge the triangle below by a scale factor of 3. So that means that the shape is going to be exactly the same shape, but 3 times larger. In this question, it's not giving you a centre of enlargement, so you don't have to enlarge it relative to any particular place. So you can just draw that triangle anywhere, as long as it's 3 times bigger. So this side is 2, so in the enlargement it will be 6. That side is 3, so in the enlargement it will be 9. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's it. And it should look in proportion, the same shape as the original. So marks for that one. 1 mark for the correct reflection there. And 1 mark if you've got one side correctly enlarged, 2 marks if the whole shape is correct. Okay, so if we've got everything right up to this point, we've already earned ourselves an E. Translate means move. So the shape remains in exactly the same orientation, but we're going to move it about the grid, and it's going to be 3 squares to the left and 2 down. So that corner there is going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. That corner is going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And this one, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So those are the 3 points, vertices. That's where the shape ends up, and that's a straightforward 1 mark or 0, right or wrong. Okay, some probability. A fair 6-sided dice is rolled. what is the probability that a 4 is shown on the dice? Well, on a fair 6-sided dice, there is only one number 4 out of 6 possible outcomes, which is written as a fraction 1/6. Part B. 50 raffle tickets were sold at a charity event. Sian has a 20% chance of winning the top prize. How many tickets did she buy? Well, in order to have a 20% chance, that means she's bought 20% of the tickets. It's a non-calculated paper, so you have to find 20%. 10% will be 50 divided by 10, which is 5. So 20% will be double that, 10. C. A bag contains a mixture of blue beads, yellow beads and pink beads. One bead is taken at random from the bag. The probability that the bead is pink is 1/5. Which of the following sets of beads could have been in the bag? Right, so what we need to do is work out the probability of each of these, of it being pink, and then find which is an equivalent fraction to 1/5. So with this first bag, we've got 15 beads, 3 of them are pink. So that one is 3/15. Well, 3/15, you can divide both of those by 3. 3 goes into 3 once and into 15 5 times. So that one is correct. But there may be more. So let's keep working through. So pink in this one is 5/15. Well, 5 goes into 5 once and into 15 3 times, so that's a third, which is different. With this one, it's 5/7, which can't simplify further. This one is 1/11, and this one is 6/15. Well, we can simplify that because we can divide both of those numbers by 3 to get 2/3, which isn't a fifth. So there is only one, and it's 6/3, the first one. So for that question, they're right or wrong. There's no method. Question 6. Team A and Team B play in a competition. Team A has 9 more points than Team B. Team A has 4 times as many points as Team B. How many points does each team have? So the easiest way to go about this, unless you like your algebra, is pretty much trial and error. If we say Team A, Team B, now Team A has more, so if we say, well, let Team B have 1 point, if Team B has 1 point, Team A has got 9 points more, which is 10. But this is saying that Team A has 4 times as many points as Team B. So if I times that by 4, those should be the same, and they're not. So 1 and 10 isn't the answer. So let's try what happens if Team B has 2 points. If Team B has 2 points, A has got 9 points more, which is 11. But if I times that by 4, I get 8. They aren't the same. So I'll try Team B having 3. If Team B have got 3, these have got 9 points more, which is 12. If I times 3 by 4, I get 12. So now they are the same. So if Team B has got 3, Team A has got 4 points, 9 points more, and 4 times as many. So Team A has got 12 and Team B has got 3. And for that there are 2 marks, one for each of your answers. Question 6. David, Jane and Mary are beach inspectors. 3 beaches, Harlech, Rhyl and Porthcawl, are all to be inspected on a certain day. It's decided to share the work so that the inspectors will visit 1 beach each, chosen at random. List all the possible different ways that they could share the work. One has been done for you. So David could be at Harlech, Jane could be at Rhyl, Mary could be at Porthcawl. Another way is if David was at Harlech, but Jane and Mary were the other way around. So those are the only outcomes with David being at Harlech. So now let's take David to Rhyl. David could be at Rhyl, Jane could be at Harlech, and Mary could be at Porthcawl. Or David could be at Rhyl, Jane could be at Porthcawl, and Mary could be at Harlech. So those are the outcomes with David at Harlech. Those are the outcomes with David at Rhyl. So finally, let's put David in Porthcawl. If David is in Porthcawl, Jane could be in Rhyl, and Mary could be in Harlech. Or David could be in Porthcawl, Jane could be at Harlech, and Mary could be at Rhyl. And that's it. Those are the only possible outcomes. What is the probability that one of the female inspectors will visit Rhyl? So one of the female inspectors visiting Rhyl is there, and is there, and this is where common mistakes are made, is to forget the one that they did for you. So you can see out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 possible outcomes, there are 4 where a female is in Rhyl. So the probability will be 4 out of 6, which you could cancel down, but you don't have to, and if you get that wrong then you're risking a possible loss of marks. So it's usually or often better to keep your fractions in probability kept and cancelled. So for that there are 2 marks for the first part, 2 if you get them all, 1 if you get 3 or 4 of them right. And for part 2 you get 1 mark if you get it out of 6, 2 marks if you get both parts of the fraction correct. Question 7. ABCD is a quadrilateral. Calculate the value of x. So we've got a 4-sided shape, which we should know or need to know that the internal angles of a quadrilateral add up to 360. So all of those together add up to 360. So what we've got there is we've got a 3x, a 2x and a 1x. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6x. Plus, we need to know that that's a 90-degree angle. Equals 360. So we're solving an equation there. We're going to take that 90 off both sides to get 6x is 270. So x is going to be 270. To get the x on its own, we have to break the 6 times by doing the opposite of 6 times, which is 6 divide, which is that. 270 divided by 6, non-calculator paper. If you don't like it like that, let's do it like this. 6 doesn't go into 2, so you keep it going. 6 into 27, 4 6s are 24, remainder 3. 6 into 30 goes 5. So x is 45 degrees. Get that right and you've got at least a grade D, and everything right before it, of course. When ABCD is drawn to scale, would the lines AD and BC be parallel or not? You must justify your answer without using a scale drawing. So we need to look at these other angles. We know that that up there now is 45. We know that that there is going to be 3 lots of 45, so double it, you get 90. Add another one, add another 45, you get 135. And this one, 2 lots of 45, is 90 degrees. So although it doesn't look 90 degrees because of the way it's drawn, it's actually a 90-degree angle like that. So those two will be parallel lines. So I'm saying they will be parallel because the angle at A is 90 degrees and the angle at B is 90 degrees. So marks for that one. There's a method mark for forming an equation. You could have written it out 2x plus 3x plus x plus 90, or simplified it there, it doesn't matter. 1 mark for getting it down to 6x is 270. 1 mark for doing or showing that you're doing 270 divided by 6, and 1 mark for the 45 degrees. There's 1 mark here for correctly working that out to be 90 degrees, and then 1 mark for correctly arguing, an explanation mark as to why they are going to produce a parallel line. Okay, question 8. Estimate the value of that. So the key thing there is the word estimate. It means they're not looking for you to give a spot on answer. So what you would usually do here is round your numbers to one significant figure. So this, the most significant figure is the 4, which is in the 40 value. So that's going to be 40. 29.6, well, the 2 is the most significant, but the 9.6 actually pushes it closer to 30. And underneath, that's going to round to 200. So 40 times 30, 4 3s are 12, followed by 2 zeros. So you've got 1200 divided by 200. You can divide that by 10 and that by 10, and that by 10 and that by 10, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. So they're looking for an answer of 6. And in part B, they're giving you a complete calculation. 54 times 84.2 is that. So if all that's happening with these figures here is that the powers of 10 are changing, 10 times bigger, 10 times smaller, 100 times bigger, etc., then the digits in the answer are going to be those digits. but that decimal point will end up in a different place. So for the first one, this side of it, the 54 is 10 times bigger, and the 84.2 is 10 times bigger. So that's going to be 10 times bigger twice. So if it was 10 times bigger, it would be 4, 5, 4, 6, 8. Times 10 again will make that the answer. So for this one, well, first of all, let's write that in that divide form. So what we're going to have is, if we've divided that by that, it's going to leave us that. So 84.2 will be 4546.8 divided by 54. So that's just rewriting that like that. And then we can see that the top of that is the same, unchanged, but the bottom is 10 times smaller. So if we're going to be dividing by a number that's 10 times smaller, that's going to make that answer bigger. If that was so you're dividing by a smaller quantity, so that's going to be, if that's 10 times smaller, that's going to be 10 times larger, 842. And then if we're going to write the next one, so this time it's been divided by the 84.2, so we'd have 54 on that side equals 4546.8 divided by 84.2. So if we divided by 84.2, we'd get 54. This time the number on top has become smaller, so the answer is going to become smaller because we're dividing into a smaller quantity. The number on top has become 10 times smaller, so that's going to become 10 times smaller, which is 5.4. Marks for that. 1 mark for the method of rounding the numbers like that, and 1 mark for our estimated answer, and then 1 mark for each of these. Okay, so if we've got to that point, then and got everything correct, then that means we're on for our grade C.